Aloha mai kako, Kealamau Tengan here with day 10 of Resolve to Evolve. We're going to be jumping into the most probably underutilized tool that you can use, which is really accessing our consciousness, delegating some work to our awareness while we sleep. All right, before we jump into that though, take a moment, close your eyes and breathe. Just allow yourself to breathe into this moment. To allow yourself to center your attention, to really connect to the here and to the now. And as you do, just allow yourself to feel into this present moment, setting an intention for this day, for this now. Breathe out, allowing all air now to expire from your lungs. Breathe in, slowly, deeply, fully holding this breath. Breathe out, heavy with a sigh. Okay. And when you feel ready, go ahead and open your eyes. All right. So, day 10, we're talking about sleep. Sleep is an amazing thing that can really help us not just rest and recuperate, not just even restore ourselves when we're feeling sick and injured. It can also help to rejuvenate some of the things that we're really looking at and intending. And so what we're going to talk today a little bit about is how we can prime ourselves for the fulfillment of our aspirations by accessing deeper states of sleep, of rest, and to look at how we can actually look at delegating, assigning to a certain degree to our subconscious mind different things, intentions that will help to fulfill our aspirations. So first things first, when I'm getting the boys ready for sleep, one of the things that we do is we start off with our evening rituals. Now this starts off a little bit higher in terms of energy and then sort of starts to down regulate, if you will. If you think about driving standard or in a car, how we have these shifts in these gears, that's one of the things that we do steadily from about 5:30 p.m. until about 7:30 p.m. And yes, our bedtime ritual is 2 hours in length. And so at 5:30, we're either eating dinner or we're bathing. And then, shortly thereafter is the other. And as that happens, we're centering our energy, and it really depends on dinner. If it's spaghetti, then we're definitely bathing afterwards. And so we're really looking at that as a way to transition. Now, what really comes into this part of it, at least, is what's called the circadian rhythm. And our circadian rhythm is generally our relationship to light. So as it starts to get a little bit darker, our digestive system actually begins to downshift. And so when we eat later at night, for example, 8 p.m., 10 p.m., for example, there's nothing inherently flawed with that or wrong with that. However, there's a flaw in that system in that our digestive system has effectively downregulated to a point where it's not as capable of digestion. And so as we eat earlier, particularly with the boys, this guy right here, around 5:30 to about 6 o'clock or so, then we're still within that range where the relationship to light, the body's natural biorhythms, if you will, are more conducive to that digestive process. And so that's great because eating earlier then means that there's more time to digest. And so by the time we go to sleep around 7:45, there's been that time to at least begin with a digestive process. And that's important because that helps for us to stay in a deeper state of sleep and rest rather than allocating energy to breaking down food. Now, as we go into that, then we start to down regulate. We go into either the bath, the meal, then we start to do things in terms of cleaning up things in the living room, and then we'll go into, brushing our teeth, getting ready for bed, and then we'll read a book. By the time we get to our book and then what we call the gratefuls, which is just saying what we're grateful for in that day, then, we're yawning. I'm yawning. I fall asleep with them just as often as I do not. And what's great about this is that when we're in this steady state, we effectively prime our body for rest. And what's great about that is very much like on the opposite end of the spectrum, when I'm about to, go in for a workout, I have a system to get my body ready for the work. In this case, it's getting our mind ready for sleep. And so as we go into that, then perfect, we've got ourselves really, really set up for success and rest. That last 2 hours prior to sleep, it's really important to limit the amount of intake we're getting in. And intake being like action movies or video games, things that really awaken the system, and particularly anything that puts us in front of a screen. That screen awakens the body as well. Now, say we've gone through all that and we're primed and ready. We'll call these the bedtime rituals. We've gone through our bedtime rituals. Usually about a 2-hour block of stuff is good because that allows our actual physical atomic body and atoms to be able to get into a more restful state. And so as that happens, then we start to transition into sleep, and then we go into sleep. Now, I'm going to link something which talks a little bit more about sleep itself and making our bedroom really like this incubator for rest, having it like super dark out curtains, areas that are more quiet, a little cold if possible, and then heavy blankets. I mean, all these things are a whole part of it because that just gets us really, not just gets us into a deep state of sleep, it keeps us in that restful state. As that happens, then one of the things that we can look at too is really being able to drop down into that state of rest. Hold on, I'm still on my video. And so as we get into that default state of rest, which for most people are actually a challenge because we get into sleep and we might have difficulty getting to sleep. You want me to open that?
No, I opened it, but I don't know how to draw a bunny.
Okay, I'll be up in a bit. I gotta draw a bunny after this. So then we'll get into that deep state of rest, and then we get to stay there. For a lot of people who are overthinking, who are sort of stuck in that left hemisphere, who are dealing with things of anxiety or just generally stress, then sometimes it's difficult to get asleep, let alone stay asleep. And so all those parts and pieces in terms of really optimizing your bedroom is a great way to also drop into that state of rest. As we get there, then it's terrific. The amount of time we sleep really depends upon how much rest we actually need. And so that can vary. However, when we are about to get into sleep, and I like to do this just prior to going to sleep and also just upon awakening. And so one of the things that I like to do is use a technique that I learned from one of my mentors, which is, why is it true? And so just before I go to sleep, I'm going into sleep and I'm thinking about, something specific. And I'll say for example, why is it true that I am in perfect health, optimal wealth, and endless vitality now? Our subconscious mind likes questions. And so when we present a question, it endeavors to answer. We endeavor to answer it. And so I'll go into that state and then I will flash forward to what does that vision look like of me in optimal or perfect health, optimal wealth, and endless vitality. And I'll begin to imagine something, a scene that unfolds. And usually in the midst of that scene, I conk out. Like I'm ready to sleep by this point. And so as that happens, then what we do is we assign our subconscious mind a task to identify, to decipher, and to decode. And as it endeavors again to answer it, that all happens when we're in that state of sleep. Look, honey, I'm still in my video, bud. Hold on, okay? I'll come draw your bunny in just a bit. Upon awakening, then I wake up. And as I wake up, then as soon as I'm aware that I'm awake, I keep my eyes closed and I ask, why is it true? And then I'll present something else, a focus for that day. Why is it true that I am a loving, attentive father who is open, supportive, and accepting of his children? Something like that. And then I'll envision it. I'll envision what that looks like for the day or for that moment. And not necessarily how that comes to play, rather after it has been fulfilled. And so, snuggling with the boys or having fun, playing, tickles, things of that nature. And as all those things then become part of my everyday practice, and sometimes I forget completely. And other times I'll stay in that space for a long time. Sometimes I'll go into that in the morning after I wake up and I'll start to envision it and I'll fall asleep again and I'll wake up again. So, however that transpires for you is perfect, because what we're really looking at and focusing and intending on that is being able to work with our levels of mind, our conscious mind with the intention, the subconscious mind with the application, and being able to allow that space for the superconscious mind to come through and shine. Okay, so why is it true, followed by the vision, and you can start off with the vision that we've already created. And just figure why is it true, for example, you could say, why is it true that my vision is fulfilled? And then go straight into the vision that we crafted using your word of context, using your 3 words of triumph. Start off with that this week and see how that feels for you. Love and aloha. Take care. And ahui ho.